Guten Tag, Jahre 5 und Jahre 6. Heute haben wir ein Air raid zu spielen. And that means good day, Year 5 and Year 6. Today we have an air raid to play. So that was German, and that's why you call the Glockenspiels the Glockenspiel. Glocken, bell, spiel, play. The bell plays. Not that you'll be using those today. Anyway, today we're going to create the sound of a World War II air raid using different timbres. And a timbre, what does it mean? It's the word for the type of sound that an instrument makes. Different materials make sound waves containing a mixture of frequencies. And here's some words that musicians might use to describe timbre. Even our voices can make different timbres, such as clear, bright, dark, rounded, piercing, harsh, warm, mellow, resonant, heavy, light, flat. So even our voices are instruments, and different instruments have different sounds. For instance, a piccolo in the corner, it's like a tiny flute, and you would have heard it a lot with Gustav Holst's Jupiter and Mars. Let's see which adjective matches best. Is it harsh, clear, mellow, or piercing? Let's have a listen. This isn't a real piccolo. This is my piano that pretends to be a piccolo. So let's have a listen. What do you think about that? Well, I thought it was very piercing because it's a very high sound, and you children have especially sensitive ears, and it's the sort of sound where you'd all say ouch. Okay, let's find another sound. Right, the clarinet. Let's see how this one sounds. What do you think about that one? Well, I don't think it was harsh. It was quite mellow. That's what I thought. Mellow means kind of soft and soothing. Okay, so that's the clarinet. And then the oboe, which looks very similar. Let's see how that sounds. Now the oboe is here. Probably my piano doesn't quite do it justice, but it's a very, very clear sounding instrument, and it's used in Swan Lake in one of the ballets. Right, the saxophone. Now, we kind of know which is the answer to this, but let's just have a listen. Well, saxophones can actually be quite harsh and abrasive if they're blown hard, which is why sometimes when we listen to jazz, when we've just listened to something nice and classical, we're like, oh, ouch. But it's still great fun. Okay. Anyway, so they're all similar instruments, all woodwind instruments, but with slightly different timbres. Right. Anyway, now it's time for your class to create the sound of an air raid using various timbres. Now, the first thing that you will need, you need an air raid siren to warn everybody that it's about to happen. Now, if you can't find a swanny whistle, just use a human voice. So you will have to take some breaths in the middle. We don't want anybody fainting. So you can just make, one of you can make a noise like this. And you can do that that for about 30 seconds and then you stop. And then, depending on how many large drums you can find, they must be soft beaters. That can be the drone of the bombers approaching. And it has to be a continuous drum roll. But the one thing that will really give it a creepy feel is if you do it gradually louder and louder. So start off so that you can hardly hear it. And you think, is that an air raid coming or not? Are the planes on their way? They're getting closer and closer. So you can do that one for about 30 seconds. And then that can stop. And then you can have a snare drum. They're the sort of medium-sized drums with a rattly bit underneath. And you can play it in short bursts. So it'd be a bit like this. And that's supposed to represent a machine gun trying to shoot the German planes down, which they quite often successfully did and saved lots of lives when they did that. Anyway, the next thing is the whistling of the bombs coming down. Now, hopefully by this stage you'd be safely in your air raid shelter. But what you can do, you can get a medium-sized recorder or a big one like this, cover up the hole at the top, and here you get your sound. And as soon as you've done that whistle, then whoever's got the djembes or any kind of African drum, you can make a thud. And then immediately the people who have got the cymbals, a crash. So it's whistling down, it thuds on the ground, and it explodes with a crash. So you can do about 10 of those if you like. And of course, what's the result of those bombs? Well, it's the buildings falling down. And it's really anything that will shake. I don't recommend shaking the pencils because they'll probably all break inside. But there should be a tray of wooden xylophone notes, and if you shake them, that will sound like buildings falling down. Then you can have the sound of glass shattering, so something metallic like triangles being shaken in a tray. Then somebody could do some running footsteps, tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. Perhaps you'd have somebody to do the sound of somebody screaming, although I would recommend putting your hand over your mouth when you do that. Ah! People say, hurry up, get in the shelter, hurry up. Babies crying, wah, wah, wah. Dogs barking, ruff, 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 ruff. So you can put in some sound effects using your voices. And then finally, the fire engines are racing to the scene, and you can create that using a triangle. I haven't actually got one here. So you hold it up and you just jangle the beater on the inside of the triangle. You would have heard that all over London during the Blitz, because they used to have an old bell on it, didn't they, where they jingled it, not an electronic siren like they have today. And then the all clear, you can either just use your voice, ooh, ooh, or you could just blow gently down a recorder. And that will be the end of your air raid. So make sure that you have a practice before you record. You can record using a phone, or you might have Audacity on a laptop, whatever's easiest, or an iPad or whatever you have in school. I'd love to hear the sound recordings. Make sure that you listen to it afterwards or next week as a class, because it's amazing how much it sounds like an air raid. And it's helpful if at the beginning of the recording a child says, this is so-and-so class on September the so-and-so 2020, this is our air raid. And I really look forward to possibly hearing some of those. Okay, that's it for now.